Welcome to the making of history. Nathan B. Baskind is today being reunited with his country and with his people.
And now I'd like to introduce Secretary General Dirk Backen of the Volksbund.
Dear members of the Baskind family, distinguished guests, I'm grateful and honored to say a few words here today when we lay down First Lieutenant Nathan B. Baskind, United States Army, to his final resting place at the location 80 years ago where his generation fought and died for the liberation of Europe from Nazi tyranny. Our nation's fallen soldiers, American and German ones, are buried in French soil. A country that was occupied during the war by the Germans and with American help was liberated. However, the US forces not only liberated France. There was a historical fight that started on D-Day 80 years ago. They liberated my country too. How can that be, you might ask? The Germans lost the war. They were not liberated, you might say. But the former president of the Federal Republic of Germany, Richard von Weizsäcker, he was the first one who called the 8th of May the Day of Liberation in his famous speech 1985. And I quote from that speech, "Most Germans had believed that they were fighting and suffering for the good cause of their country. And now it was to turn out, not only was it all in vain and pointless, but it had also served the inhuman aims of a criminal leadership. Exhaustion, helplessness, and new worries characterized the feelings of most of them. Would they still be able to find their own relatives? Was there any point in rebuilding in these ruins, looking back into a dark abyss of the past and forward into an uncertain, dark future? And yet it became clearer from day to day what we must all say together today. May 8 was a day of liberation. It liberated us all from the inhuman system of National Socialist tyranny. And for the sake of this liberation, no one will forget the severe suffering that began for many people on May 8 and that followed. But we must not see the end of the war as the cause of flight, expulsion, and the lack of freedom. Rather, it lies in its beginnings and in the beginning of the tyranny that led to the war. We must not separate the 8th of May 1945 from the 30th of January 1933. We certainly have no reason to take part in victory celebrations on this day, but we have every reason to recognize this day as the end of an aberration in German history that held the seeds of hope for a better future." End of quote. And I wished Nathan B. Baskind could have heard these words and see that all the bloodshed, the pain, the suffering here at the beaches of Normandy, it was not in vain. It was not only a victory, it was more. It was a liberation. And many victories in history have paved the way towards the next war. But two nations here, the United States of America and France, they did the opposite after 1944. The Marshall Plan, the Berlin Airlift. The French took us and traded with us in a normal way as equal partners. 51, the European Union for coal and steel, that's the birth cell of the European Union. We were accepted 10 years later as full member in NATO. And the Berlin Wall, 1961, French and US forces defended Berlin. The Franco-German Peace Treaty, 63, the Élysée Treaty. And finally, the reunification of my country, 1990, with the help from Paris and Washington. It all started here and then, in those days of June 1944, and it would not have happened if men like Nathan B. Baskind had not crossed an ocean and went directly into furious battles and gave their today for our tomorrow. So the fate of whole nations depended on men like Nathan B. Baskind, and that is the reason why not only the United States and France, pay their highest respect today when he will find his final resting place among his fallen brothers, but also we as Germans. And for the Volksbund, representing all fallen soldiers of the 2 world wars, we salute you as well. Nathan, 80 years after your death, you have continued to touch our lives. You have brought together many people from different walks of life, with different languages and different religions, but this time in the spirit of friendship, cooperation, and peace. And that is what makes you truly a great and unique hero for all of us. May you rest in peace. Denoach Beshalom.